Good morning, welcome to Techman Talks Dynamics, and we're in the 2025 Wave 1 release notes episode where we talk about what's coming in the new release that will happen in 2025. These come along like very regularly now. We've barely got the stuff from 24 Wave 2 into our SaaS tenants, and they're announcing what's in 25
What's
Wave
coming
1.
next, yeah.
So
there's more features that trickle out between the major releases, aren't there?
yeah, they don't arrive on October the 1st, April the 1st, quite exact, do they? It's 0.1, 0.2, 0.3 release, which I mean, does that spread the risk, or does it increase the testing time, or and now you can actually delay the implementation of your features upgrade for 6 months now. Potentially you don't have to take each one quite as hard as you used to, but is that a good thing? Does it make it a bigger step change than individual releases?
Yeah, I don't think we would still recommend that you hold back from putting the releases in. It's far better to have the small incremental updates
maybe a
than
month
the big
or two.
Changes. The issue is, if you want to log anything with Microsoft, then the standard answer will always be,
even the day after they've released the point update, they say,
exactly.
are you on 0.3? And it's like,
Yes.
well, that was only yesterday. Come on.
Yeah.
I'm now on 0.3, and this is the bug I need to log.
Yeah.
That's the issue. Is if you go too
I mean,
quick,
if you leave it 6 months, you're going to be, there's a
six
whole
months is too long. But
kind of whole
I don't
bunch
think
of
jumping
bugs
in on
on
the
it.
1st of October or April is
No, and
necessarily a
with
good
cloud
idea.
control, we don't do that anyway.
No,
There
no.
is a slight delay from the initial release, but I don't know. I just think small and often is a better approach than leaving it and doing a bigger release every 6 months.
I'm pragmatic.
I think it spreads the risk, like you said, rather than
I think you should, probably not be the first to jump into it.
yeah.
And look at the list of, well, is there a problem that's really going to adversely affect me? And if there is, then push it. I don't think that's wrong. I don't think it's right to kind of have one policy that is always, we're always on the latest release, come what may. Actually, you've got to look at it and go,
Well, there might be a good reason why you don't do it at a particular
quite.
time. But
And, you've also got all the ISVs, whether they've got support and all the rest of it.
that's what I mean. That's why
It's getting increasingly complex,
just
isn't
let
it?
us
It's not
manage
one.
it. Just let us manage it for you.
With pleasure.
Okay.
So what's new in
what's
Wave 1? So starting with the application, they've extended the Power BI reports across to subscription billing. Actually, the Power BI reports have just come in the Wave 2. I haven't seen an awful lot of people using them yet.
Not yet. Not yet.
I think
Maybe something that we
well, the whole
we
reporting piece has had a lot of focus
Yeah.
in this and the last release.
Yeah, well, yeah. there's
Why
a
do you
bit
think
there.
the uptake of Power BI, the embedded Power BI stuff hasn't? Is it just because there's something you have to go and install it and set them up, and kind of there's a bit of a process to go
it's
through?
Maybe it's just bypass people that is there, and that is relatively easy to do. But because it doesn't just appear.
Yeah, I think it's that doesn't just
Yeah.
appear. There's a bit of work to do. I'm also interested to get kind of the real world reaction to what's on some of those dashboards,
Yeah.
to see whether people go, well, actually that's really good information, or they go, well, that's not the way I calculate, kind of thing. Because I think there's reporting is such a subjective
it is, isn't it? I mean,
thing between every business.
If you go to a customer and said, show me your sales report, you would have 8-9 versions of the same thing essentially. When you're something with margin and the way they calculate.
Even
what
sales
they
reports
include
within the
costs.
business can be different between different people.
Well, that's the different. That's a different thing. But I think it's so personal to different organisations, the way they want to see their reporting and what they deem to be important. So I think
there's for less mature businesses, there's the expectations are fairly low on when you're talking to a certain set of new customers where can we get sales by customer and products? And they're not really excited by that. But then there's customers that are more mature around their reporting, and you look at their existing reporting and you go, wow, okay, that's going to take some engineering to get all that data together.
Yeah.
But
There's so many different ways, though, isn't there, that people can access that data now. And, you know, I feel like it's probably still the area where more education needs to be sent down from us, from Microsoft, about these. I was talking to a customer the other day who'd been on SaaS for, I think, probably 18 months, 2 years, and had never used Analyze Mail.
Yeah.
It blew the mind. And you know, there's so many of these features that, and I think reporting particularly, there's so much you can do out the box without even needing to install. I think
we as a partner, and every partner out there, have got a way better job doing to educate around these new features. I think there's I think Microsoft are stuffing so much in, quote unquote, in the box these days. But like you say, you know, if people don't know it's there or don't understand, and something like Business Central, they're not just going to click and try and find out. They're worried about the consequence.
If you're a new user and you've got someone that's naturally inquisitive about these things, they might come across it. If you're somebody that's used the system for years and years and years, they're not necessarily going to go and look for it. Yeah. They've got to be pointed out.
Coming back to what's new, I mean, the Power BI, the other thing I think is reporting, it's been apocryphal that every organisation wants slightly different reporting. Customising these dashboards, you're going to have to do that each time. There's not a layered approach to customisation like there is with extensions. And so I'm interested to see where this goes. I think it's great that Microsoft have finally kind of given us a solution that kind of goes up against any of the competition in terms of, the dashboards can look as great as anybody's got, and Power BI is a great tool for that. But how it's actually used in practice, I think this jury's still out.
Yeah.
Post foreign currency adjustments to unrealised gain and loss accounts.
I have very little to say on that matter.
It's one of those that if you need it, you need it. It is useful.
Really exciting.
So the Copilot and AI features enhance purchase order line matching with Copilot. I mean, so introducing a situation where, in effect, they'll try and match your three-way matching. They'll suggest that with Copilot, almost like continue as the standard add-on that I think most people use for that.
I mean, it's such a manual task, isn't it? So I just think something that can, even if it can take on 60-70% of the lines and just leaves the exceptions to deal with, I think it's
But will people get frustrated if it's that level of kind of accuracy? They'll go, I'm not going through that process to see whether it's right.
I think it probably depends a lot on the types of transactions and the type of business as to how and the way that they process the purchase orders. If you think about some of the food businesses and some of the variances in quantities and things, it's probably a little bit more complicated than somebody that just buys and sells things in a box. So I don't know.
Suggest gas emissions on sustainability journals with Copilot. I mean, here in the UK, we haven't seen sustainability uptake. Everybody's we're not doing that till we have to because of the extra work involved. I guess in some European, Scandinavia, apparently there's quite a lot of mandatory situations now. Interesting to see, Continue came out with a sustainability add-on. Microsoft have come out with it in the standard product. If I was Continue, I might feel a little bit Microsoft are going after us with those two because two of their bigger add-on products, but that's the world of an ISV. I guess you're always in danger of being chat with Copilot to learn how to use installed add-on apps. So the chat feature that actually hasn't been seen in every geo yet because of the lack of AI resource for rollout. North America gets prioritised here. That can extend to ISV add-ons if they put the right URL into the extension. So that's quite useful in terms of, I think, that the documentation kind of access will be consistent across the application.
It'll be the norm though in a few years, won't it? That
Yes.
you chat and you just ask.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just like you ask your Alexa or Siri or whatever. It's going to be like that with BC.
Summarise with Copilot, I was like, not sure about that. But actually, if I ask it to summarise, I use Summarise in Outlook quite a lot.
I was just about to say, do you use Summarise in Outlook?
Yes.
Yeah.
If I have a long chain of emails, I'm clicking the summarise before I'm scrolling down and reading, the 10. So asking it to summarise what's outstanding on an order, if I've got 40 lines on a sales order and some of them have shipped and some of them not, summarise, and I'm guessing it will tell me all of the, this is still outstanding, but these products have already been supplied and in 3 different shipments on this date, and this date, maybe. I don't know.
Not sure the accountants will be trusting it just yet. In terms of
that's maybe a bit like me with Outlook. I summarise it, and then I go and read through it as well because I don't. But then that's just changing behaviour, isn't it? And learning to that trust.
Yeah.
So, okay. So the sales order agent,
which is the one there's been all the excitement and kind of videos about and so on. I mean, there's work going on that. Public preview's gone to February. It was January. I think it's unsurprisingly slipping back because that is, a radical piece of work. Yeah. I'm worried that, they're now asking for previews in North America again. It does seem that North America gets a very big bias, which for our customers, it might as well not be there if they can't get it. But there seems a real lack. What I'm told is that there's a lack of AI compute capability, so it's the data centers that's stopping them rolling out to the other geos. And data centers aren't quick to build, are they? And
no.
I would imagine the AI...
Most software vendors are jumping on the back of AI, so it's not just Microsoft pushing this, it's...
and there's going to be a lot, so if they build a new... they announced 4 billion investment in UK data centres, but there's how much demand is there going to be, and how's BC going to get its elbows out and say, oi, we need this for this, but...
and the sales order agent, it's the first one and looks like it's going to be interesting. Email comes in, it'll say, hey, customers asking for a quote, I'd suggest this. So, these are the products, this is the suggested email back. If the order comes in, it'll say, hey, you got an order, this is what they're asking for.
Convert this
okay, make that into an order. So if that's throughout the product, which that's the plan, and it's not just BC, the agents, a lot of your work is going to be chatting to the system to explain what you want, and it's going to be suggesting things and
totally different.
Rather than going to this button, pressing F8, do this, put this number in here.
It's almost like you're going to be talking to a person rather than a system. Can you sort that out for me? Type conversations with Business Central rather than with somebody who then taps the screen for Business Central.
Conversation with Hal.
Do I have to keep putting please at the end? Because I can't stop myself.
You're very polite to your AI
that's
agent.
British AI.
Yes.
You didn't say please.
Get this done now. Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
Regional stuff.
I don't define allowed languages per environment.
I mean, for us as predominantly English,
not all English, but
all
predominantly
English, all English. It's probably not top of our list, but I think if you're going on and you're doing a multinational project, you can say I need Danish, German, and Dutch in this, and and define what they get rather than having to flick through a whole list and then find the PTE doesn't support that language and you get part and part. So it's a tidy up, it's a nice to have.
Might help with support. I mean, have you tried putting BC into simplified Chinese and working out what you have to press to get it back out?
Yes. No, Matt, that's not. That sounds like a practical joke you play on your phone.
My daughter put the TV into Polish.
Use the PEPL ANZ format in e-documents. So I think that actually, PEPL hopefully is going to become the new electronic trading standard. I've been of the opinion that electronic trading was massively beneficial for a long time, and that more people should do it. Hopefully PEPL's a standard that's going to get more and more adoption. It's good to see that Microsoft is supporting the localizations of some of those documents.
I think some parts of Australia and New Zealand government, it's mandatory, just like in some parts of Europe and Scandinavia where that's coming in.
And even in the UK, if you want to deal with the NHS, you need it for that. So it's not even it's parts of government rather than necessarily government itself. So it's good.
Development, techie bits.
So I think there's nothing. A new page type for Power BI, great. Better telemetry, mock outbound HTTP web service calls.
That could be useful.
Some nice kind of fill in the gaps there. Move tables and fields with data across extensions as part of refactoring. Yeah, now that's one that Microsoft have had themselves. They've used that a few times themselves internally, and they've finally made it available for other people to do. That's really useful because you do your entity design on day one, and then requirements evolve, and you want that table would be better in. So getting your dependency structure can get hellishly complicated, and so being able to move an entity into a base extension and then have dependencies on that, rather than this table was up 2 or 3 levels, I've suddenly discovered I need it on other extensions that are other functionality that's not part of that. So it means that you can get your entity design right and not have to overcomplicate things just because you didn't envisage that possible scenario on day one.
So we can re-engineer things if we need to without breaking it.
Yes.
Okay. E-commerce, more and more.
Shopify. Yeah. I mean, the Business Central and Shopify, the integration seems to be every release. There's better improvements to that. I think there's one particular person, Yannick, we're talking about you, who is very enthusiastic about Shopify. Great. I think having some of the other solutions, so NetSuite, for instance, tried to have its own e-commerce solution for years, and I remember looking at it a few years ago and it looked like something out of the 1980s. It was horrific. So they're never really going to stay on the cutting edge of e-commerce, are they, if they try and do their own? So I'd far prefer that they built an interface to a real cutting edge third-party one, and Shopify seems to be a very good candidate for that. So 4 marks to it. I get that it's probably annoying if you use one of the other e-commerce platforms, but they can't do them all. What's next?
More PEPL, more e-documents.
Well, this is where the focus seems to be on the business-to-business transactions in Spotto rather than the direct-to-consumer stuff, because it's talking about having the files that things like reminders as PEPL files, finance charges. So that's not going to be caught on, has it?
Well, not for us, but some countries. I know, it's a real kind of.
Well, PEPL started off as e-invoicing, and it was just that, invoices, but it's expanding into
all different document types. I
do think it's not. It's the whole e-documents piece. It's not just PEPL e-documents. I think system-to-system transactions are the way it's got to go. The idea of that sending a PDF to somebody is very last century for me. Turning it into an image and then turning the image back into data and then process it in the system is, why the hell is anybody still doing that? But
One of the formats that Germany use from e-documents, which came in 25, it sends the PDF and an XML file with the data.
I think that's
so you get the
sensible,
image and you get the data, which I think is a nice way of doing it.
Yes, means it's human readable and machine readable.
Yeah.
So I'm pleased Microsoft are doing this work. I hope that they make it as open and as flexible as possible, because we frequently get asked for e-documents which are not part of, which Microsoft are never going to support.
There's a note about using e-documents with XML solutions and APIs, so that hopefully gives the flexibility there, doesn't it?
But what I got when I talked about that, I've got like third-party logistics. Mm-hmm. Instructions to ship, confirmation of shipping.
There's no standard with those guys, is there?
No, but creating XML documents and sending them through that, so that there's a common way of doing it. What we don't want to have to do is train users 20 different ways for 20 different types of documents. It should be a standard queue and an ability to process, and ISVs need to be able to add to that as well.
Okay, governance and admin.
View app compatibility with future versions in the admin center. So I think you had to go into Business Central itself. We're going to be able to see from the admin center, when 26 comes out, we're going to be able to see
which
apps are
ready
compatible,
to go.
which ones aren't quickly, which we've currently been able to do that, but we've had to do it almost off system and then supply that information to our clients. It's going to back us up now, which is great.
Okay.
Updating sandbox environments to preview version. That's a nice one, because to date you've had to create a new environment with the kind of preview version, but now you can actually convert one.
And it's really hard to test the bits that you need without your data. I mean, if you think every client now uses a whole bunch of ISV solutions, and there isn't, when you create that new instance, a lot of those ISV solutions there's no data for. So how do you test them? So I think that's a really...
copy your production into Sandbox, update the Sandbox into the latest version, or the preview version.
Yes.
It just means
see what breaks.
You can just get ahead, can't you?
I think it will allow Microsoft... typically, you've had kind of 3 dates. You've had the preview available, then you've had when they launch it, which is typically the first for new instances, and they go on to the new versions. And then the date that's caused them the most amount of grief is when they start rolling out the upgrades. Because that's when everybody goes, oh, this doesn't work, or that's wrong, or you had all the stuff with subscription, the subscription extension, adding dimensions and changing number series. This time, that would have been caught with that instance and solved way before anybody wanted to roll it into their production environment.
True. Reporting and data analysis, so there's quite a bit in here, I think, again.
Word layouts get a bit of love, so that your request page, so you run a report and you put your filters and start dates and end dates and whatever, the data that you enter into there is now available in the word layout. If you think about classic nav reports, where at the top of the report you'd show the filters that you'd set.
Yeah, which is helpful.
Even the company name.
Yeah.
So
why is this number wrong? Oh, yes,
exactly,
that was filtered out.
Last year's figures or something.
Enhanced analytics for manufacturing. So they've done some, and actually there's a hell of a lot of the reports where they've taken out the RDL report and converted it to Excel, or and as part of that, they haven't just done a straight conversion. Credit to Kenny, I know he listens to this sometimes. Massive number of questions come back, massive number of amount of consultation to say, rather than just do a 1-for-1, which would have been the easy thing to do, how do we make this good? So really interested to see, there's reports, as usual we're reporting, we'll ask for a whole bunch more, but good to see Microsoft spending that time. and the RDLC, they are trying hard to deprecate it. They're not saying it's going, but they're trying to reduce their own dependency on it. So we should do the same.
Yeah,
we've had discussions many times.
The enhanced financial reporting, so that's changed quite a lot over the last few versions anyway.
Yeah, James is going to get really excited about this.
Yeah, tell them your best bit.
Brackets for negatives.
Brackets for negatives. Yeah.
On screen.
Well, just
no. Just on the. I don't know. I haven't seen it, have we yet?
No,
so we'll know.
Where I've seen it is it was on the
screen.
Preview,
Wow.
I think.
I saw it allows you to put some different descriptions, so you can have a different description on your report. So like internal descriptions to explain the rows on your financial report. It also allows you to put header and footer notes in. So when you print out the reports, you've got the kind of notes. You might say this is a draft set of accounts. So it prints that on the report. Although I would imagine you have to then remember to say this is the final set of accounts. But
it's taking you away from doing it all in Excel.
I think that's the point, isn't it? That you can do a lot more without having to be sending, copying and pasting or exporting it. I mean, there's so many people that still just export a trial balance to Excel and then manually do their P&L and balance sheet. And I would question now why anyone would do that, because actually the financial report is allowed to do all of that. So and then you can send that into a predefined Excel template. So.
Or Power BI. Because Power BI, I think Power BI
like Excel.
Well. I know, but maybe they shouldn't. Because the one thing they don't want is Excel's an editing tool, and you don't want your financial statements edited, do you? So
ideally not, no. And I think that's the other point, isn't it?
And they're there.
Yeah. Then we've got a host of kind of smaller changes under supply chain management. So more columns to various pages. I mean, how annoying is it when you can't
personalise it?
When there's the information's there, you can't get it on the page to use, and more and more now when you do that, they're just there, aren't they?
Well, you can do that through personalising the role, but that's not a user level thing. So adding the fields now. Adding the fields the users need.
Block items or variants from production output.
That's
so
good. Yeah. We can block sale, we can block purchase. Now we can block production.
So a discussion I've had is that there's an awful lot of blocked fields now on the item card. Because you've got how many, and
where does it end?
Yes, are we going
to it's all stuck in a loop, isn't it?
62 Boolean fields on an item card. Shouldn't it be done at the category or the status level rather than the individual item card level? Because the more Boolean fields you add to a record, the more chance of getting one of them wrong or not being consistent. So I think that needs a bit more think through, but it's nice to see them adding.
Next one,
understanding
and we've customised this many a time. Handle production output with warehouse putaways. We can actually use a warehouse putaway for production output.
We make stuff and when we want to put it away.
When you say that, it just sounds so.
Yeah, but it's been a gap for 20 years.
I know.
Thank you, Microsoft.
Yes.
Document attachments in manufacturing. Again, with document links,
it's kind of I think a lot of people.
And there's been various ways that you can do similar. More changes on projects.
Receive project items for receipts or putaways. Again, I think if you order something specific for a project and then you want to receive it into the warehouse, it's a useful filler. Yeah, it's the way it should have worked, arguably, for a long time. Use streamlined product design tools in manufacturing.
You might need to click on that.
Might need to see the detail of that one. Yeah. You got to read the explanation.
When you're adding items to a BOM, you can do a multi-select.
Oh, okay.
So I want that one, that one, that one, that one.
That's quite exciting.
And when you show the BOM versions or the routing versions, doesn't it show the base one now? The non-version BOM. It's always been a bit mad to me that you could have a base BOM and then you could have version 1, version
and
2,
the base one's out of date.
and the base one's.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just confusing to have a base one. I think if you're gonna use versions, don't have a base BOM or root. But maybe this makes it a little bit more sensible. Lots of sustainability improvements.
Yeah, that's something that's just going to evolve, isn't it? Because it's new legislation as well. That it's going to have to just keep evolving. Yeah. So, I think.
Well, it's new legislation, and every sustainability consultant has a different perception of what you should do.
It's like all new legislation, though, isn't it? When it first comes in, there is a lot of interpretation.
I can imagine
standard practice.
I can imagine our customers will have to start supplying information if they're supplying to Europe.
They do already. But up until this year, they've been able to use kind of industry standard data rather than their own specific data. So that's kind of, from what I understand, that's going to be the next step.
And
so
I suppose, recently the US, change of government in the US, I have a feeling Mr. Trump won't be quite so...
he doesn't agree with sustainability, or I'm not going to get political.
But that's, we'll see what happens in the requirements going forward.
Yeah, I think that's...
so there's a user experience, view PDF attachments directly in the web client. So when you view a PDF, it doesn't actually open a separate browser window or whatever.
It downloads it at the moment, doesn't it?
Just shows you.
It just downloads, and then you have to open the download.
So I think that's been missing for ages. Just makes it a little bit easier. So really much better. So that's as far as we've seen so far. I mean, usually it's worth saying, I think, that as the month goes on between the preview and even past the preview date, there's quite a bit that hits this documentation, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. Or that happens but doesn't ever hit the documentation.
Yes.
There's always more than that, or some of these features, the release date will change, so they won't necessarily come in April, they might come later. So, like always, this is not, exactly what is going to happen in April. But
don't bet the farm on it. Yeah.
Well, it's like the sales order agent, it was June, so, and that was probably just US?
Yeah, no, I don't think the intention... No, but what, in this document, January...
January was kind of hinted as a date when we were
Same February now.
I think when it's something that radical and that new, it's going to take a bit of time for them. Had the experience of kind of... And so they asked for people to kind of go on and preview it, which I did with one of our customers. Thanks, Craig. And, we were saying, well, yeah, it's great if that's the simple, straightforward scenario that you have, but that doesn't happen.
Very unusual.
Customers won't stick to rules, so they're going to send an email in this format. And I think, the team took that on board, but that kind of means that they've got to make this truly usable in X percentage of scenarios.
You've got to do more. You've got to go into the people factor, haven't you?
Yes,
you've got to. If the request is being generated on the customer side then that's going to be much more kind of system generated than someone just manually typing an email. So as long as everybody started to automate processes, then it works better and better. It's when you've got the human factor of people just asking for really random things.
The reply to a quote, it generated the reply, but we made the point that it needs availability and pricing. Because if I'm asking for quotes on 3 different products, I might only be buying one of them.
Yeah.
And our customer's customer, I'm going to make the decision about which one to buy on that quote of 3 product based on,
can I get it tomorrow?
Can I get it?
Yeah.
And how much is it going to cost?
And if I have to wait, do I save a significant amount by waiting? If I don't save a significant amount, I'm not going to bother waiting. I'm just going to go with the one that's available.
Yeah.
So, we were like, well, it's worked out who the customer is. It then needs to go into the pricing routines and look at what the current price is for that customer, and also say, maybe availability just needs to be, yes, it's available now, or, it'll be, this is the lead time. Because, availability, you had to look at several fields in Business Central to work out what your availability has, hasn't it? It's not been a one-field answer on and off.
Yeah, it can get complex, can't it?
Yes.
Because, you're doing available to promise and then lead times.
Well, we were talking about a quote here. So, the first person to order gets it. So you don't have to take into account of how many other quotes you got and all of that scenario that you do when you get into the sales orders. But if you don't have availability and price on the reply email, we were like, the customer's just going to go, well, what does it cost and when can I get it? And if you've got to do that work, then so I think that they're unfortunately, like most things in Business Central, when you start to use, you discover what you truly need, and the requirement evolves on.
You've got to start, haven't you? You've got to start somewhere. You've got to start somewhere, and then it will evolve. So.
But what we don't want is the customer saying, "Oh, that's great, but Techman, can you customise it so the AI result does this?"
So that there is. I was part of I think it was a WhatsApp or Twitter, I can't remember, a conversation a couple of days ago where said we've seen evidence in one of the extensions of a dependency on a toolkit, which is the agent toolkit.
Okay.
And the question was, has anybody outside of Microsoft seen this agent toolkit yet? Anybody, sight of this? Because I think that agent toolkit is what we're all excited to get our hands on and build our own agents, because just like Business Central, you take it and then you tweak the 2%. I think we're going to have to tweak the 2%, and there are going to be some customers where it's going to be very legitimate to build our own agents.
Yep.
You see that Power App, so we built a Power App for one of our customers that one of our colleagues shared, which was around doing a quotation for fencing and gates. And it was, it went through a series of questions. That would be perfect for an agent.
Yeah.
But, there's only fencing and gate manufacturers who are going to use that agent. So Microsoft are never going to do it, are they?
Yeah. There's a fixed set of rules behind it, so it's easy enough to translate it.
How long and how high is your fence, I guess? From memory, and then what's the material, and
you start to think about it. There's loads of things. Think about like returns and matching it to the shipment and the reasons and all those different things. I think. And
is it within the
code? Is
it within the period where you can return it? What's the reason for returning it? Do you get the full credit, or is it return to stock, so that affects you?
Things that are quite easy to build that kind of logic around, and actually are just kind of very manual tasks, so you just then deal with the ones that maybe are outside of their return time, or you just tell the customer no.
I think the exciting bit is when the agent isn't for the user, it's for the customer. If you think about a return agent, you put that on the website, know, and how's that going to work? So is that going to go into kind of the Power Pages?
It's cynical about that, having a very unpleasant experience on the EasyJet agent the other day, when I was literally like,
I just want to speak to someone.
Writing in capitals, like that was going to make a difference.
Yes. Well, airline websites are perhaps the best process,
but there's certainly something like a return.
5 years' time.
But I had to do a return this morning, and I did it through a returns portal, on like a website that I bought a pair of boots from, and something like that you could. I think that would be really good, like customer facing.
Well, that finish off then, the integration with Shopify is going to get very, very tight, isn't it? Or how are you going to do that in a separate customer portal? How's that going to work? So
you've got the options, haven't you?
Yeah. Okay, well, thank everybody for listening, and we look forward to discussing more when the software's actually available and out there. We'll pick this up on the preview, I guess. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.